But then when you run your business based on the priority, you know that your business is going to continue effortlessly. Like it will be like 20 years, 30 years. I will still be here if I'm still here. It will be like that, continuity. But then if you are based on just a great word, there's a lot of problem with that.
Hi, I'm Michael from Modular Agency in Taipei, tech-focused marketing agency. I'm here with Vivian and Igor. I invited them here to the show because they started an acupuncture clinic here in Bali, and they started in the middle of the pandemic, and now they have 2 clinics and they serve 40 patients a week. So it's quite an interesting success story. And what they're going to teach us is how to grow a business by winning your customers' hearts, because they don't do a lot of marketing. They don't do the social media game. From what I know, you guys have grown this business just by offering very good service and really caring about your customers, right?
Sure. Sure. That's one of the value that I really push in the clinic, as well for myself, as well for my assistant, as well for everybody who is involved in this nature of business. Yes.
Yeah, that's very impressive, because a lot of people are saying, do the Facebook ads, do the TikTok, have a beautiful website. I think you guys don't even have a website, do you?
We don't. We don't. We just have a Calendly app, but then that was just from last year to make easier bookings for me, so then I don't need to contact my clients. And it's like, all right, can you give me your free time slot that I can put in my free time slot, things like that.
Yeah,
it makes things easier, smoother.
For me, it's super interesting, even though we run a marketing agency, and what we do is we build all of the content for our clients, which are tech companies. But you guys have done it just very organically, kind of, I don't want to use the word old school, but it is kind of old school. And you have proven that this business model still works, where if you just care enough about your customer, you can grow a business. And you were saying something like in the beginning. So maybe you can just go back and tell us your story, how you started, and how it got to be this big.
All right. When I first started out the clinic, it was a decision between stability and you open up your clinic. What does I mean by stability is that I have a job back then while waiting for my license to accomplish in Indonesia.
Your acupuncture license?
In my acupuncture license, I have a job. I was teaching at school as a Chinese teacher. Oh. Then every month you get this stability, right? Of things that, money that comes monthly, and you don't need to worry about things. You can pay your bills and so on. But then I have the other thing that in my right hand, there's you learn 5 years for acupuncture. It's not a short period of time, and you take a lot of time to memorize and things like that. So then, in the other hand, it's there's nothing here, no money. It's just a lot of risk. But then I realized that, I need to start. It's just the right momentum to start my business and to take risks. Since I will never be at school this whole year, that's not my passion and so on. So yeah, number one could be the passion that calling me into acupuncture again. And then how we start, we live in a when you want to take risks, it involves a lot of money, a lot of budgeting. But then at that time, I don't think we have that much budget. Mm-hmm. We just get married, we just have baby, and it's just where is the money coming from? And then we said, okay, let's start very old school, very traditional, in your own house. You just make your house become a clinic. And then that's how we start. We live in a 100-meter square area, very small, 2 rooms, 1 tiny pool, 1 garage, and 1 kitchen. And I said, okay, Igor, my license is here. We need to get this rolling. So we need to transform this 1 room into acupuncture clinic. And that's how we do it.
Yeah, I guess it was kind of from the ground up of working with what we have for making something out of what we had. So, going back to Microsoft and their garage days of programming back in that garage in those days, that they did that. And we did that as well. We took what we had, which was very little, but we made something of it. And we knew the market was there in our area and that the need was there. and we accommodated for it. We changed and we modified the rooms to make it a cozy space for acupuncture.
Yes.
So you said it was the right time to start in the middle of a pandemic. It was the right time?
Number one, because at school we are doing the working from home. So then I was like, okay, so we only work. And then at that moment, because I was pregnant, they kind of cut my hours at school. So then in the afternoon, I'm pretty much free. So I was like, okay, nothing to do except taking care of my little one. Okay, we'll open up like that. I think that's the momentum.
And to give some feedback, I think Vivian had colleagues who had conditions that she knew could be addressed through acupuncture. So there was some of her colleagues who, they would talk about infertility problems. They would talk about other kinds of problems that they were having, whether it's stress or anxiety or other symptoms that could be alleviated through acupuncture. And, Vivian said, oh, this is something that I used to do, or this is something I learned about. But then the question was like, okay, you learned about it, so let's put it in place. How can we do it? And that maybe drove us to open up finally.
Yeah, so that actually leads into my next question, which is, how did you get your first, should I call them clients or patients?
We would like to prefer them as a patient, but it's up to you. You can have it kind as well.
Depends on the symptom.
So from a business perspective, we'll use the word clients. So your first clients were your colleagues?
Not really.
Not really.
Not really. My colleagues, I guess they're waiting for me to open up for certain months, then they come.
Oh,
but
they didn't
my
trust you
first
yet.
one, yes, they didn't trust me yet. I think my first patient, when you open up a business, you get this excitement. Damn, I'm going to put myself in Google Map. So I opened up Google and I was like, here, pinpoint, and I'll put acupuncture clinic there. And I guess through luck, they searched for me. And then I have the first week of opening, I have one client.
Wow.
One client, and then she was there. I was like, oh my God, my first money from the clinic. Yes.
I hope you didn't tell her that she was the first.
No.
That would make her.
But if you can look up through Google Map, I think she's the first one who also reviewed our clinic. Which is like, wow, this is how it is, when you have clients coming and then they, Google will help you as well as a business, right? Like, can you review this place for us or something like that? And then she review our house, and I was like, wow, our house clinic. Yes.
Yeah, I think soon after that it followed, then her colleagues would hear about, oh, you can do this. And I think one of the first, or soon after, one of the colleagues who was looking for alternatives to infertility knew that, okay, Vivian was doing this, but it was just a question maybe of clinical competence, right? And catching up with maybe some of the things, the gaps in knowledge that she didn't have from not practicing over time.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Confidence, yeah.
One thing led to another. I think from this one, I don't know if she shares with her friends and so on, but then the second week of the clinic, I have somebody coming from like the government job, like from governmental job. Can you say?
Yeah, government worker.
A government worker. And then I think from her, she kind of like blasted out in her social media that like, hey, there's this acupuncturist, she's very good, and then she's really kind, and so on and so on. And then starting from that, I started getting, feeds from people. And then the Bata clinic back then, it was just 100 followers. It's not growing much in the span of 2 years because I'm not posting. This is the problem. I didn't use any strategy for that. But right now, it grows that I think I have a few blue
you have the blue check
on my Instagram, like that is following our clinic, which is good. Like I was like, wow.
And then you haven't posted much. It's just other people's posts.
No. There are people who post on me, about the clinic.
User-generated content.
Yeah, and exactly that's maybe one tip, or maybe one way of looking at it is that although Vivian doesn't generate her own posts, that she's had many people come into the clinic who use her environment and use the clinic as something that they want to post. So that's why we always have to think about how to make it aesthetic, how to make it more presentable, and how to make it so that the clients or her patients want to use that environment for their own social world and to promote it to their friends and the people they know.
Yes.
So that's a good way to look at it, is how to avoid having to post yourself. Just get your clients to see the value in posting.
Yeah. We met a few other guests who focused on user-generated content as an entire strategy.
Yeah.
And I think because if someone else posts for you, then there's a trust is immediately there because you're not promoting yourself.
Trust, yes.
Yeah.
The review and the content is there in one shebang, right?
Right. Yeah. So that's very cool. And this is kind of like the old school way of doing things, but it's also becoming the new school because right now it's way more authentic to do it this way.
Yes. And another thing with my business is acupuncture is medicine. You know, you need to have somebody to tell you, hey, this is a good doctor or a good clinic in order for you to be like going to the clinic. Or else you get reluctant to just see review from Google, for example. But then if somebody said, yeah, it's a good clinic, then they'll be like, okay, I'll be there tomorrow.
So I won't ask you if it's a good clinic. I'll ask.
You ask? Yes.
So then, so how long did it take to go from like 1 a week to now 40 patients a week?
1 year.
In 1 year.
1.5 semester.
Yeah,
I would say 1.5 years.
That's very quick. Yeah.
Yes.
Like because now you have 40 patients a week. It's become a business that has taken over your previous full-time salary, right?
It is. It really got me a lot of anxiety to have that amount of money. But then, yes, it is.
Okay, and then you have 2 clinics.
I have 2 clinics. How many treatment tables? 4 treatment tables in the 2 clinics. Yes.
Okay.
So people come in and out.
So you're busy all day long.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm busy all day long until last, I think November. I mentioned to Igor, like, I think we need to invest to have an assistant to help me because I simply cannot work like this anymore. And then to invest in the second room of the first clinic, that is also one thing that I was like, we managed to pull it on September, yeah? The second treatment room.
Yeah.
And so we start out with 1 room, 1 bed. Can you imagine if I have 8 patients per day, I will work 8 hours per day or even more. So then I mentioned to Igor, this cannot be done. It means like, you know, I open up business, but then I'm still in the 7 to 5 working hours. And I don't want that. I want to have flexibility too of my time. And then this is why you open up your business, right? To have flexibility.
Yeah. So now she has 3 rooms and she can treat 5 patients technically at the same time.
Okay, so then what are your working hours like now?
Working hours, I managed to cut myself a house. House in Barawa, house in Denpasar. It's just that.
So it's basically like a full working day.
Full working day still for now.
Okay.
But in the morning time, for example, we can go to the beach, for example, to have yoga class by the beach. Back then when I was working in a corporate, it's what we call corporate schools.
Corporate work.
You cannot do that. You simply 7:30 you need to be at school or at your working place. If you late 7:35, you get like notice already.
Right.
1 notice, 2 strikes, 3 seconds on.
So you're really enjoying the freedom of deciding your working hours.
Yes.
And you're making more money with more freedom and you're doing something you love.
Yes.
Which is
true.
helping people
Yes.
with acupuncture. All right, so I'm very curious about how, like, what is the secret to your success? You mentioned that you win the hearts of your clients. So what does that actually mean?
I would say, so when I was studying back then, I kept it in my bedroom side, saying things like, you need to look at things with the eye of compassion. So then that's always been my value. Even when I met him, I said to him about the same thing. And he was like, compassionate eyes. Oh, I like it. So, but then that's my value. So then when patients come to me, we know that they have problems. They have a lot of problems that cannot be solved. So with this eye of compassion that I value the most, I can see things from them. Like, I see you, in Avatar moving. I see you, and they become like, so much not empathetic. We trust you straight away. Like, okay, I think I come to the right person in the right eye. See things like that. So I think number 1, I have compassion. What else? Number 2, services that we did. I love to have perks. add-on perks, but I will not charge them with that. Like they'll come to my clinic and they thought they just do acupuncture, like just needles in and then they're out. No, it's different. In the clinic, you got to ask questions, multiple questions to make sure that I know your body. And then the other thing, I give them first, like add on facial massage, add on this, add on that. And then it's like, yeah, it's a gift for you. Things like that. So make them feeling special.
And yeah, adding things like, making the patients comfortable through things like tea to calm them a little bit, provide that Zen experience. You're a Taiwanese company, so you might know the expression like Chan Chai Wei, right? Like tea and meditation, or tea and Zen can be combined under one taste in a way, or, that's what we try to do. We try to calm the patients through eyes of compassion, but as well as providing tea or something like that to help them settle down. And
so something small and relatively inexpensive like tea actually can go a long way into making the customer feel special.
It's true.
And tea can be adjusted obviously for different purposes and different states of being, right? So that's something that we try to consider and work on as well.
Like I always think of myself in their foot. When they come to the clinic, for example, or any other business, they are in this busy mind, busy road, busy traffic. And then when they come arrive, people want acupuncture. They want you to say, thank you for coming, or things like, I valued your presence to be here, and here's some tea, and then so on and so on. But we don't really say it. I valued your presence, Tamara, for coming. But then I'll be like, would you like some tea? Can I offer you a drink? As simple as that. It just makes things more flowing.
Kind of like in yoga, how they always say, you've made it here. Thank yourself for being here first, right? So it's kind of like, well, the patient itself, they're taking the first step forward towards their healing and towards getting better, and that needs to be rewarded and recognized as well.
Being recognized.
Recognizing those attempts. And I would also add, you mentioned authenticity before, and I think that's really important, especially something dealing with something so intricate like Chinese traditional medicine and acupuncture. You really have to be authentic, and I think that's why we avoid the social media, is because it's really easy to make things like needles and treatment sensationalistic, right? And to make promises that are very empty, right? The needle is one of the tools used by a medical practitioner or a Chinese medical practitioner towards healing and getting better. But it's not the be-all end-all, and it's not necessarily going to be the cure for everybody. But we have to be careful, how to present these ideas. And I think a lot of the time in the industry, it gets a little bit out of control, and there's a lot of empty promises made. So we try to avoid that at the same time.
Or like, what make your acupuncture clinic much more like happier than the other acupuncture clinic? Like that's always thing.
I remember I did acupuncture once in Taiwan, and it was very much like a conveyor belt, like process, show my health card. They threw me on the table, stuck me with needles, and then they kicked me out. And then, they probably had like 200 patients a day. And so, incidentally, I never went back. And I never really believed in acupuncture since that experience. So.
And I think this is one of the modalities too with acupuncturists around the world. I mean, like, it's numbers for them.
Right.
How much you can earn per month. But for me, even when I receive that much, I get anxiety, like, I need to give it back. Or like, should I charge less or things like that? I even ask him, it's like, you're ridiculous. Don't be like that. But then I don't treat people like a number. This is the thing. Like, they are not numbers. They are people who really come to you because you are their last resort.
She's had a lot of people who've gone through like 10 different modalities and treatment methods, and professionals who just haven't been able to do anything, but she has. So that's a huge success story.
Saying about that, like, I also reject patients that if I think it will be better for them to be cared by somebody else. Like, I will be very honest with them. Like, I don't think I can help to fix you this way. There is another method, or you can try to research. I give them resources, and then they'll be like, wow, thank you for your honesty. And I will make sure that I'll ask people to come to you, because they know that I will guide them in the good way, not just like receiving their foot needles and then like, bye, see you again.
Yeah.
Yes.
So just to maybe validate your statement, it was the same for me. You know, when I first went to Beijing and I saw the medical practitioners, maybe Vivian, I can simulate what happened with your hand, So he just, you know, your deficient kidney, someone's translating the Chinese medical doctor, but like literally 1 second, he's like, oh yeah, I got it. You know, you're going to die in a month unless you buy this medicine. And then the medicine was like extraordinary amount, right? So it's just like a selling method. And this was in 2008. So it was already 15 years ago, but like you've witnessed that as well. There's a lot of approaches that are very maybe consumeristic driven, or purchasing medicine, you know, to take the Chinese medicine, which we don't. Vivian does have access to Chinese medicine, but we don't make that the staple, or we don't make that the focus of our treatment. For them to buy more medicine is to treat or address the symptoms as quickly as possible through alternative means.
So I think one of the ways you're successful is that your patients come in and they expect just to be treated, and then they're getting this whole kind of holistic experience. But that takes a lot of time, I imagine. So how do you balance this with actually growing and scaling a business?
Well, we only have 24 hours per day, right? And then you use how many hours to sleep normally? 7 to 8 hours to sleep. So then it leaves you another 16 hours. 8 hours working, and then and how do we do it, Igor?
Well, I would you know, Vivian has provided treatments for people, for instance, in our community who are Balinese for free, or she has in her clinic been able to say, this is who I want to address. This month is education month, or this month is this special ceremony, or this special occasion, and she'll provide, you know, incentives for those people to come in. So I think this is one way that we're kind of maximizing the opportunities. Is the time is limited, but we want to optimize and make it available to as many people as possible. Now, will that provide immediate financial return? Not necessarily, but once again, through word of mouth, and the Balinese community is addressed, or we've got access to that. We've got them involved, which they traditionally maybe wouldn't, because the money getting through the first door is difficult for them, or trying to be able to afford the treatment. So I think that's the challenge, and we try to make the pricing available for everybody to access the whole community, and that's important as well, is to look at how you can do that.
Mm-hmm. And I think the fact that you hired your assistant and you set up the second clinic, that also puts you in a position to start to little by little scale up the business without losing that caring or compassion part of it, right?
It's true. It's true, yes.
Maybe you can talk more about how the assistant has helped you so far, from just, what you're able to do now compared to 2 months ago.
Like, a lot of stuff is coming to the administrative stuff. Yes. I'm the acupuncturist. I'm also the one who book your to the website. I'm also the one who received the money. And I mentioned to Igor, like, this is too much work for me, and I need somebody to help me, like a team, for example, to help me with this. And then we come up with Calendly. He actually came up with Calendly. And then we came up with this automatic bot in WhatsApp. Like when you say hello, and they'll be like, hey, how are you? Things like that. And we come up with that. And then with the assistant, like, sometimes I just need time for, like, calm myself down to greet the next patient. Like, how do you say that? Like,
so like she said, she can't look at somebody with the eyes of compassion if she's frantic and thinking about this person who she has to respond messages to, what's upcoming next. It's about getting something systematized or automatized that maybe shouldn't necessarily require that much brain processing from her, and so she can focus on what's important.
Yes, so, and this is what led me to say, like, I just cannot handle Instagram anymore. Or I do not have time to post. I don't even have time to reply to the next patient that's like, when is your next availability? So, yes, I need the help definitely with that.
So for those of us who are in the service industry, as you are, as I am, what would you say is a framework that we could follow to bring that kind of eye of compassion, or how can we win our customers' hearts? And no matter what industry we're in, do you have any advice for us?
Okay, me.
Well, I think what we addressed with that automatization, or knowing where your priorities are, what you need to do, especially what she needs to do as a clinician, as a therapist, that should be her focus, right? It should be hands-on material and transferring the duties onto the assistant so that she can maximize those higher skills that, for instance, her assistant cannot do or I cannot do. So yeah, it's a question of prioritization and...
Can I say, it comes to the one word that right now the world needs to hear the most, which is greediness. Greed, yes. I think when you run a business based on that, the whole thing will become problematic. But then when you run your business based on the priority, you know that your business is going to continue effortlessly. Like it will be like 20 years, 30 years. I will still be here if I'm still here. It will be like that, continuity. But then if you are based on just the greed word, there's a lot of problem with that.
So
Like money making and priority.
Can you explain what you mean by priority though? Like,
Priority, like, you know, what the thing that we want to have the most when we have our business. The priority of your life, your as a business owner, and then you prioritize your worker, you make you make work for them, and then the business itself that is kept on going, right? So then and then we have this budgeting, I guess, or how do you call them? Like if this amount of money that I receive, I will get only this. And then if this much that I top up, I get this. But then if you go up again, and then you will have more of the imbalance between, you get this much amount and you spend only this little.
your profit and
Yeah, profit and revenue. But you don't want this much profit, but this revenue, is it?
Yeah.
You want it to be always balanced out. So then it continues. It's not like, okay, you got this much and then all of a sudden you do like this.
I think what Vivian's talking about is maybe it's going to be a trend in 2023 is more of these environmentally responsible businesses, and not just environmentally responsible, but financially responsible businesses that prioritize the customer's needs and health as opposed to growth. And yeah, maybe what she's saying is businesses should look at the model of gross national happiness, or, you know, that model instead of a GDP run model is to look at, how can we maximize, and we look at patient numbers as opposed to income, right? So patient numbers kind of dictate success for us, and patient satisfaction, obviously, but, you know, it shouldn't necessarily be about the income guiding the business and the business decisions that we make. It's that, are we getting to address the needs of the community as much as we can to maximize the potential of her services and the clinic's potential?
Yeah, it sounds like your secret sauce is you really focus on your customer, your client, how to help them, those little freebies to create a whole experience.
Yes.
And then the word of mouth spreads, and then as you grow, it sounds like you're not really trying to maximize your profits, but you're still keeping it affordable for everyone.
For everybody, yes.
Yeah.
I think there's this, sometimes when you see this, like this healthy juice, right? They say, for example, 40K. So I will kind of cut them in my head, like, all right, how much the bottle will cost and how much the profit of how much the bottle will cost, how much the actual liquid will cost, or how much is it with the refrigerator, how much is it for the cashier and so on. So I will try to make in my head that, okay, this equal to 40K. So, and it's the same thing when I want to give out my business, my service. I guess there are people who think like that, like me. You know, okay, I pay this much amount and I got acupuncture, I got this, I got that. And then I get sometimes freebies as well. Yeah. So then they will be like, okay, this is a good amount.
Yeah, good value.
Good value, yes.
And one of those big freebies, I think, is that, emotionally they feel kind of a homey atmosphere, and it kind of, it provides that home away from home. And maybe that's the feedback some of her patients that keep coming back for the last 2 years. Maybe someone.
Well, Tamara has been to both of the clinic, house clinic and Brawa clinic. So yes.
Yeah. And that's maybe another thing to address is that, yeah, we have a house or like a home-based clinic where we essentially have the clinic as an extension of our house. And we have one that's now part of, it's a commercial business. It's a separate business commercial area. So that allows for unique opportunities as well for the client to choose where do they feel comfortable. Do they feel comfortable more going into an actual space that's meant for this purpose, or to kind of be an extended member of our house for a few hours?
Yeah, so for those of us watching who are entrepreneurs or business owners or even marketing people, I think the big lesson here, the big takeaway is figure out how to win your customers' hearts by prioritizing their needs and understanding their needs. And then instead of just selling a product or service, try to include that whole holistic way of helping them as part of your service. And then another thing, I think I read this in a book, but if you offer freebies but you don't advertise those freebies, then the customer is really delighted, and then that's when they start sharing and the word of mouth happens. And so that's a good point.
It's a good point.
Me sitting here and listening to your whole story, I'm seeing this pattern of how you kind of like do that with your clients, and I think that's how you can basically, you don't need to spend too much on marketing if you can just create that really good customer experience.
No, we still need to know when the marketing
Still need
stuff.
to do it, yeah.
But marketing stuff for the educational purpose, I think that will be good.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be, what you explained makes sense, right? Because it's contingent rewards or contingent rewards. When they don't know about the reward, it's a surprise. It's so much more reinforcing in terms of their emotions and their happiness. Whereas if they're expecting it, like, oh, I'm going to get this at the end of treatment, I got to stay another 29 and a half minutes until treatment's done so I can get this, right? So yeah, there's definitely a strong power in that. And maybe that's something we can incorporate a little bit more.
Cool. So what are the plans for the new year? What's your business now?
Chinese New Year?
Or, I mean, the next year.
Oh, Chinese New Year, sorry. The next year will be, right now, we're testing out this commercial business for sure. And then I would like to hire another therapist. So then it's not only reliable on me, because this will make the business not rolling smoothly. Right, so I would like to have that opportunities, and perhaps, with my job, it's I can be everywhere. I can travel the world and give acupuncture and so on. So I guess what's our next project?
I think in the last year, she's really learned about how diverse it can be, what she can do. She can provide treatment at home for acute symptoms, right? Very serious illnesses. She can also provide in-home treatment for prevention purposes. So acupuncture is preventative as well as it is acute. She can work, as she has actually last year, she worked for an aesthetic clinic here in Barawa, and she was able to actually be an acupuncturist in a beauty studio. So she's done that. She's been involved with hotels, providing treatment for hotels in-house guests there. Yoga retreats. She's part of yoga retreats as well. And that's one thing that we're looking at, I think, is how to combine acupuncture with different modalities. So acupuncture is still quite new in terms of how it's presented and how it's used. So looking into how to combine it with yoga, how to combine it with more Zen experiences and more relaxation-based experiences. That's something that we're looking into.
Yeah. Or like to hire somebody. So then it's become a brand, right? It's not really
It seems like you're on your way to building this into a brand, and because if it's only you, then there's no way you could ever take a vacation, right? Or
so that's the big challenge, And we went to Malaysia for a week, but even that is kind of stretching it because people are dependent on her,
right?
Yeah, so. And we want people more to be dependent on the brand as opposed to Vivian in a way. But then again, does that take away from the authenticity? That's a fine balance as well.
Right.
So we have
to another interview, perhaps.
Yeah. Cool. Well, very fascinating story, and very happy for your success. It sounds like it's much deserved, based on the amount of attention that you place on your clients. So very cool. And so, what are for those of us who want to, let's say, break out of our full-time jobs? and start our own service-based business. Do you have 3 tips to get started that you can share with us?
And maybe one that touches on what we discussed our roots in terms of our business and how it came about. But I think really seeing what you have, seeing the potential in everything that you have. We had this house that was really nothing, but we still said we have a free room and here's what we can do with it. You know, everybody has something that can serve as a spark to get them going, to get them moving. And a lot of people have these impediments that say, oh no, I'm not ready yet because I don't have this commercial space ready. I haven't found, you know, the adequate square meters studio in order to incorporate all the things that I want. Well, then scale down a bit, right? And just start. You have to get your foot through the door somehow. And this, what better time than now, especially in the new year, to take that leap and say, here's what I got and here's what I can do to get started.
Yes, that's one of the tips. And the second tip would be keep your priority, I guess. Like, you know, when you are opening up your business, your priority needs to be the idea or the vision of the business. That right. Might be the idea. So yeah, and you know, sometimes we have like Medusa here. A lot of thoughts in our brain, but like focus on one and where is your priority and execute it straight away. And do not hold yourself back. I think that's one of the things. Yeah, one of the thing I think I was holding myself back for the past when I was teaching and then finally getting my license, I was still holding it back. Like, I don't know if I'm going to do this, like stability and unstable. And then like, yeah, but I know once the ball kept rolling, what do you call them? Once the ball you roll the ball, it kept rolling, keep rolling.
I think that's a big tip too, is like ride that momentum, right? Like it's all about, you have a small success and then you continue and push hard right after that, or you follow through with that, because people get in ruts, right? When you don't have those continuing successes, and that's when it stalls. So it's really about starting that momentum, getting the ball rolling and pushing. So knowing that you have to invest more time and invest more resources once you have that first initial success. Yeah, keeping it moving.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thanks. Very useful stuff, and I hope somebody watching this, they get the fire under their butt and
or maybe a fire cup under their butt to get them, you know, fire cupping and acupuncture.
Right.
Yeah, that's one of the services offered, so maybe that'll get them going.
But not on the butt.
All right, cool. Thanks so much for sharing all of that and sharing your tips and secrets. And we'll put a link to your future website or your Google Map location under the video. Yes. And then people can find you guys. And yeah,
great. Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you in the next video.
Ciao, ciao.